Whoa. Thank you very much, Chris. Tony, you're a tough act to follow. And as I was looking at the pictures this evening, apparently there wasn't photoshopping back in the late 80s. I'm not sure where I came up with those glasses, but I guess they work. They clearly found the whole golf hole. Good evening, and thank you all for coming out this evening to support my induction into the St. Michael's College Hall of Fame, as well as my fellow classmates, David, Sarah, Megan, Casey, and local legend Tony Adams. Congratulations to you all. It's a pleasure to be joining you in this year's Class Hall of Fame. I would like to welcome President Starrett to St. Michael's College and wish you all the best tomorrow at your inauguration. It should be very exciting, and certainly it's a pleasure to have you on campus. I want to thank Chris, Josh Kessler, and the nominating committee for selecting me. The theme of my speech this evening is not about the success I had on the golf course and my ability to get the golf ball into the hole in fewer strokes than my opponents, but rather to recognize and celebrate family and friends who helped support my interest in golf and provided me life lessons along the way. I want to thank my teammates and Coach Ernie Gilmain. Ernie was one of a kind. When it came to golf, he was as competitive as any one of us on the team. Ernie enjoyed coaching golf, but truthfully, Ernie enjoyed playing it a whole lot more. He couldn't wait until we'd all teed off at the tournament so that he and 3 of the other seasoned coaches could sneak off and play their own round of golf. While traveling to and from events, I often found myself riding shotgun on the way home or the way to golf events, getting a shot-by-shot description of Ernie's round. I knew when Ernie started his narrative on the first hole that I'd better get my spikes on because we were going a full 18 holes. Not realizing and appreciating it at the time, those times were great memories. Most importantly, I want to thank my parents, Hank and Liz, my brothers, Mike and John, my sisters-in-law, Rosemary, Kristen, and Stephanie, for being here this evening. Unfortunately, my own family, my wife Debbie, my sons Wes, Casey, and my daughter Allie are not able to be here this evening. My daughter Allie is playing in a national tennis tournament, and my wife, like many of you parents out there, plays the role of Uber driver, coach, basically go for this and go for that. Just as my mom and dad did for me, and many of you do for your children. I'm most pleased to be standing up here this evening to be joining my dad as the second father-son pair to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, alongside Coach Markey and his son Ed. My dad, as mentioned, has twice been voted into the Hall of Fame. The first in 1989 for basketball as a member of the class of 1959, and again last year in 2017 as a member of the 1957-58 Iron Knights basketball team that played for the national championship in Evansville, Indiana. I'm very proud of that, and obviously Tony spoke about that very well. I mention this because, as was the case every year after the Hall of Fame inductees for the upcoming year were announced, I always look forward to calling my dad to have a lively, fun debate as to the potential for a golfer one day to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. My dad always took the stance that golfers were not voted into the Hall of Fame. Each year I would argue my merits based on my credentials as reason for potential induction, but truthfully, for me, it was not about my golfing resume. Simply, for me, it was having the honor to join my dad in the Hall of Fame. Though we never spoke about it, I always knew deep down he thought it would be really neat for me to join him. As was normal, my mom would always break up the friendly discussion after, no doubt, taking my side. The debate would be tabled for yet another year to most certainly be revisited the following year. Well, this past spring, my dad and I did not have that annual debate. I got the call from Josh. It was wonderful. The timing could not have been better, as it was a true blessing. The news of my induction into the Hall of Fame, while celebrated, was a welcome distraction for our family. My brother David and fellow Michaelman had been diagnosed with cancer last year. And was not doing well. He was fighting for his life. I looked forward to getting back to Burlington over Memorial Day weekend to share the news with him, because as much as I was the Gretkowski being honored, it was my brother David who was every bit responsible for my being up here this evening. Dave and I were close in age, with him being 3 years the senior. Being the younger brother, I always wanted to hang out with him and participate in whatever it was he was doing. Dave always let me tag along with him. Whether we were playing hockey, baseball, ping pong, tennis, poker, and later golf, Dave and I were extremely close and very competitive with each other. I rarely beat my brother at any of these activities. It wasn't until much later that I realized and appreciated that the losses made me stronger and better prepared for competition. It struck me as I began preparing my comments this evening that I followed my brother's path through much of my life. David got me started in golf, which began with us hitting golf balls in the field across the street from our house, on a few occasions taking out neighbors' windows, much to my parents' dismay. He joined the Burlington Country Club as a junior member and later worked summers at the club through college. When I was old enough, I did the same thing. In fact, I followed David to St. Michael's College, where he too played on the golf team, and we both had careers in medical sales. David passed away last month after a courageous 17-month battle. His funeral and celebration of life was held here on campus at the Chapel of St. Michael's the Archangel, with Father Brian Cummings as the celebrant. It is very clear to me that I would not be standing up here if not for David. He was everything you could want in an older brother. I would like to honor David by dedicating this award to him, as he is the true Hall of Famer in the Gretkowski family. Thank you, and I'm sorry.